Millions of new Epstein files are really shaking the Trump administration and other powerful elites. They're leading to consequences already, and we are at the beginning, not the middle or end of this process, because it's unprecedented to have this many files, including things that are typically secret forever, never released, coming out of the DOJ. I'm Ari Melber, lawyer and journalist. In this video, I'm going to show some of the highlights of accountability, things that we didn't know in even the first couple days of the multi-million file release, and then show you more of our timeline that we've been building, which helps try to get a handle over time on what is a complicated story with a lot of deception, a lot of people trying to outrun the law, a lot of people trying to cover each other. So you'll see the timeline coming up. You can always subscribe for my YouTube videos and legal breakdowns. I've heard from some people here about the timeline, and I can discuss that later, including questions about our updates and future ones. The big point I want to make here, which we didn't know a week ago, is how this information coming out of the Epstein files would start to have real-world impact. That's different than in media. Sometimes you say, oh, interesting story, or, oh, is anyone going to do anything about this? And maybe not. Here, there are consequences. And that doesn't mean it's a great system, that it's working perfectly, that justice is not overdue. I think anyone who's looked at this story, and I've reported this previously, can see all the failures. But I just want to touch, and I'm going to read off my notes here. We have a new suspect list from the DOJ around the time of the Epstein case when it was revived in 2019 that we didn't have before. So we know the RICO-style kind of mob boss look that the DOJ had, and that included people like Maxwell, who was later convicted, Brunel, who died in a prison cell awaiting trial, and the government in Europe ruled that a suicide, Richard Kahn, Darren Indyke, Leslie Groff, and Harry Beller, people who were part of what the DOJ viewed as Epstein's inner circle and were potential conspirators. Not just random employees or potential victims who were drawn into it. Some of those have been redacted. These people, two of them, have been subpoenaed. We're going to learn more potentially from them, even though they've, of course, tried to hide or be outside of all of these processes and legal accountability. That's what we're learning. I want to read some other names, and as always, in terms of being fair and careful, the fact that someone is named doesn't mean that they are accused, let alone convicted of a crime, and everyone deserves their day in court if accused of wrongdoing. And some of these folks, it may be more about judgment or honesty, or whether the organizations and institutions they're a part of think that this is fitting for what they want to do. But we are already seeing some accountability. In, for example, Jess Staley, who was a big banker, was ousted from a CEO bank position over being in the Epstein files. Alex Acosta, this is an older one, there's new heat on just how much Alex Acosta, as the original prosecutor in the first Epstein case, gave him a sweetheart deal. He was, of course, ousted eventually from Trump's cabinet, and the timeline you're going to see will show some of that history. Larry Summers, because of these newer Epstein files releases, has been kicked off of lucrative boards and limited in his position at Harvard. Brad Karp, this was new at the end of the week, was part of Paul Weiss. That's a powerhouse law firm. He was the chair there, the #1 person.
The Epstein files fallout once again spreading across the Atlantic to the UK. Britain's former ambassador to the United States, Peter Mandelson, is resigning from the upper house of Parliament over his ties to the late sex offender. Even more stunning, one British royal is calling out another. Prince Edward did not directly mention his older brother Andrew, who has been stripped of his royal title over his Epstein ties, but listen to Edward's comments to CNN at a summit today.
I'm not sure this is the audience that is probably the least bit interested in that. So they all came here to listen to my education solving the future. But no, I think it's all really important always to remember the victims and who are the victims in all this.
Andrew is facing more scrutiny after the latest document drop revealed this photo of him on the floor with an unidentified woman or girl. And the photographs at this point do not suggest any wrongdoing. Andrew has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing, but obviously a lot of questions raised here. CNN royal correspondent Max Foster is with us now from London. Max, give us the latest on the fallout where you are.
Well, we've got lots of reports about Sarah Ferguson, Prince Andrew's ex-wife, but they were living together for a very long time, and she had lots of relationships with Epstein as well, coming out through these files. So, for example, she's talking about not having £20,000 for rent. She was desperate to get hold of that. So a very deep relationship there, much bigger than we thought.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Donald Trump is to his bones a racist. His administration is above all else pursuing an explicitly racist agenda. None of this is news, unfortunately, but every so often the President of the United States does something so grotesque, so egregiously offensive, that we have no choice but to view it in the larger context of his persistent bigotry. So, last night, around midnight, Trump's social media account posted and then reposted a truly deranged video pushing 2020 election conspiracies, which he's obsessed with, that also depicted the first black president and the first black first lady of this country, Barack and Michelle Obama, as apes. The Obama family has thus far not responded to the video, but House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries has.
This disgusting video posted by the so-called president was done intentionally. Donald Trump and his vile, racist, and malignant behavior. This guy is an unhinged bottom feeder. President Obama and Michelle Obama are brilliant, caring, and patriotic Americans. They represent the best of this country. It's time for John Thune, Mike Johnson, and Republicans to denounce this serial fraudster who's sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue pretending to be the President of the United States.
Americans of all stripes were as disgusted and offended as Leader Jeffries, but the White House's first response was to pretend they didn't know why. In a statement, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called it a, quote, fake outrage. But as they so often do, I think the White House misread the room here. Maybe not everyone is as racist as we are. People were genuinely upset by the President of the United States in 2026 promoting this kind of just like abhorrent gutter racism, right? And the outrage.
Big news on the Epstein files. Convicted co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell will testify Monday before the House Oversight Committee. And new video also shows parts of a deposition she sat for in 2016 and may give some insight into how she'll answer questions Monday. Watch.
How many teenagers did he have that were professional masseuses that worked in his home?
Check the Foreman Foundation.
How many?
First of all, I'm not aware of teenagers who worked in his home.
Did Jeffrey Epstein have a scheme to recruit underage girls to use them for sexual massages?
Check the Foreman Foundation. Can you ask it a different way?
Did Jeffrey Epstein have a scheme to recruit underage girls for sexual massages?
Objective Foreman Foundation.
If you know.
So, I don't know what you're talking about.
Joining me here in studio, Danielle Bensky, dance choreographer, performer, educator, Epstein survivor, and one hell of an advocate. I'm so glad you're here. So as you listen to that, listening to Ghislaine Maxwell, there was for a moment that you thought she might want to say something, but an attorney stepped in and prevented her.
Yeah.
What is your sense of what she really wants to do?
Such a good question. I don't trust anything that she has to say. She is a master at the art of deception. And so even just having her speak is a little bit disconcerting because we just want to make sure, she's in this for herself. So we want to make sure that this isn't just her way of trying to get even more of a sweetheart deal. We already know that she's been moved to this like country club of a prison, playing with puppies and eating better meals, so we are all sitting on the edge of our seats, I think, to see what she has to say. But I also think she's perjured herself so many times that I just hope that everybody takes it with a grain.
Good day, everyone. Today I want to talk about two important issues that slow the social media government and discuss for the business deals and cannot affect to feature local news. Recent major business deals was announced between the two larger media companies as these are honored to local television station for the United States. Their goal is the join together to become for the companies. The leader of the both believe these delegates him will to local news several its change to world today. Local TV station face many challenges. People are watching less to treasure ration. Television increase spend time to not to mobile, social media's online platform. Because of the charging to large technology companies for big media crossing to against a local reach to hug audience and heavy strong for reduce. Smaller rocken to broadcast often to struggle to economies with the disappeared. Pick the CEO next door for the site of politicals and challenging world help in local broadcast grow. We believe these change will allow to local station for each viewer. He also cite for the global creator for companies between the local news and the large technology platform. According to him, local news is very important of communication is provide international about whether to local governments and public say without the local news community for safe about this happen around them. To Mike Stephen, the CEO also to spoke for deal his side company's strong history of the qualities and the explained for him case to recruit for the new news technology his side to join to another people news for the communities and the people watch not to television and the smartphones tables for the devices is made for messing for about protect for the future of local journalists as a belief to partnership and help of the seers and however to complete for leadership and this appeared. Former President Donald J. Trump also shared connecting about to agreement. He said the worried it the deal would allow to television composed to the expand too much. When imposed become very larger communication can decision this can something time to lead for the viewer also elegance discovery for opinion voice of medias. And the business issues for not disappeared to ownership and the rules of regulation communication to this non to FCC and the control for television station for the media's complex to organized and honored the global the rules of the ownership companies become to the powerful and the design protect to this make for voice of remain and industry become the next start of these companies and receive appear to regular and the government and careful receive agreement. They will study how to deal might affect companies viewer a local communication if the regular believe the deal is fair and follows the law. They very will approval it if they have continued for this limit of this affair to communication for the complete second half 2026 but the timeline and the government approve and the situation the business meetings for the government close to connecting it's also shows the local news media social media and this help understand having this near to communication about the agreement and the election for public and decision for local events. It's the today to media industry change this covers of this affair. Thanks for watching our video. Please like and